In the vast expanse of the galaxy, a delicate balance exists between the opulent core worlds and the impoverished outer colonies. The core worlds thrive with advanced technology, flourishing economies, and a diversity of species living in relative harmony. In stark contrast, the outer colonies struggle with scarcity, lawlessness, and the harsh realities of survival on the fringes of civilization. These distant planets are often neglected, left to fend for themselves in the cold darkness of space. Amidst this unforgiving environment, Lyra, a young girl from a near-extinct alien race, clings to life. Her species, once known for their vibrant culture and wisdom, has been decimated by centuries of conflict and exploitation. Lyra's once brilliant blue skin is now a pale, sickly hue, stretched over her frail frame. Her large, luminous eyes, once filled with curiosity, now reflect the emptiness of her desolate world. She scavenges through the ruins of a once thriving settlement, her small hands trembling as she searches for anything edible. The planet she calls home, now little more than a wasteland, offers her nothing but the bitter taste of dust and despair. In the midst of this bleakness, a freighter ship descends from the skies, its engines humming softly as it lands on the barren surface. The pilot, Captain Marcus Hale, steps out, his boots crunching against the dry, cracked earth. Marcus is a seasoned veteran, his face weathered by years of service in the Galactic military. He has seen the best and worst of the galaxy, and now, in his retirement, he seeks solace in the quiet, solitary life of a freighter pilot. His tall, broad-shouldered frame moves with the precision of someone who has faced countless dangers, yet his eyes hold a depth of compassion that belies his rugged exterior. As he surveys the abandoned colony, something catches his eye, a small, trembling figure huddled in the shadow of a collapsed structure. Marcus approaches cautiously, his heart heavy with the realization that he's witnessing yet another victim of the galaxy's indifference. As he draws closer, he sees the girl, barely more than a child, her body gaunt and weak, her clothes tattered and worn. She looks up at him, fear and mistrust etched into her delicate features. Marcus kneels beside her, his voice gentle as he speaks. "Hey there," he says, offering her a ration bar from his pack. She hesitates, eyeing him warily, but hunger wins out, and she snatches the food from his hand, devouring it with desperate urgency. Marcus watches her, his mind racing. He knows the risks of taking her with him. There are those who would see her as nothing more than a burden or worse, a commodity. But as he looks into her eyes, he sees a spark of life, a flicker of hope that refuses to be extinguished. Without another word, he wraps his jacket around her fragile shoulders and lifts her into his arms. She stiffens at first, and used to such kindness, but soon her head rests against his chest, her exhaustion overwhelming her fear. Marcus carries her back to his ship, knowing that from this moment on, their fates are intertwined. In the vast, indifferent galaxy, they have found each other, and together, they will face whatever challenges lie ahead. The first few days aboard the freighter are filled with an uneasy silence. Lyra stays in the corner of the small cabin, her eyes constantly darting between Marcus and the door, as if she's ready to bolt at any moment. She's seen too much in her short life to trust easily, and every move Marcus makes is met with suspicion. Marcus, on the other hand, is at a loss. He's used to barking orders in the heat of battle, not coaxing a frightened child into feeling safe. He tries to offer her food, but she only takes it when he's not looking, like a wild animal skittish at the sight of a hand. Communication proves to be another barrier. Lyra speaks in a language Marcus has never heard, her words a mix of soft, melodic tones that carry the weight of her alien heritage. Marcus attempts to respond, but his clumsy attempts at mimicking her language only seem to confuse her more. The frustration is mutual. Lyra doesn't understand his words, and Marcus can't decipher hers. Yet he refuses to give up. Each day, he tries a little harder, showing her objects and naming them in his language, hoping that repetition will build a bridge between them. It's slow going at first. Lyra remains distant, her eyes guarded, but Marcus persists. He starts with simple words. Food, sleep, safe, repeating them over and over until she begins to recognize them. He notices her watching him more closely, her eyes flicking from his face to his hands as he gestures, trying to piece together the meaning behind his words. Bit by bit, she starts to mimic him, her voice halting as she forms the unfamiliar sounds. Marcus sees the flicker of understanding in her eyes, and for the first time, he feels a glimmer of hope. One evening, as they sit in the cabin, Marcus decides to share a story from his past. He talks about his days in the military, the battles fought, the comrades lost. His voice is steady, but there's a softness to it, a vulnerability that he rarely shows. Lyra listens, her eyes never leaving his face. When he finishes, there's a long silence. Then, to his surprise, Lyra speaks, a few halting words in his language, asking about the stars he once navigated. It's the first time she's initiated a conversation, and Marcus feels a warmth spread through him, a connection beginning to form. The trust between them builds slowly. Marcus teaches Lyra how to operate the ship's controls, her small hands moving hesitantly over the panels as he guides her. She's a quick learner, and before long, she's piloting the ship under his watchful eye. They spend hours in the cockpit together, Marcus explaining the workings of the vessel, and Lyra soaking in every word, her curiosity finally coming to the surface. The more she learns, the more she opens up, her fear gradually giving way to a sense of belonging. As the days turn into weeks, Marcus notices a change in Lyra. She's no longer the frail, starving child he found on that desolate planet. Her cheeks have filled out, and there's a healthy color in her skin. She smiles more now, a shy, hesitant smile that lights up her face, and her eyes, once filled with fear, now sparkle with intelligence and determination. Marcus watches her with a sense of pride, knowing that she's growing stronger every day, not just physically but emotionally as well. Lyra begins to speak more, her words still fragmented but increasingly confident. She asks questions about the galaxy, about the places they've been, and about Marcus's life before they met. Marcus answers patiently, finding joy in her inquisitiveness. He tells her about Earth, describing the oceans, the mountains, and the endless skies. Lyra listens with wide-eyed wonder, and for the first time, Marcus feels that he's not alone in the vastness of space. They've become a team, each relying on the other, and the bond they share deepens with each passing day. The calm of deep space is shattered by the sudden jolt of the ship's alarms. Marcus moves quickly to the cockpit, his instincts honed from years of experience. Lyra follows, her eyes wide with fear but her steps steady. The radar shows a small fleet of ships closing in on them, pirates, notorious in this sector for preying on vulnerable freighters. Marcus tightens his grip on the controls, his mind racing through the options. There's no way they can outrun them, and the ship's defenses are barely enough to hold off a single attacker, let alone a fleet. The pirates waste no time. They fire a barrage of warning shots, demanding surrender. Marcus glances at Lyra, her face pale but resolute. There's no fear in her eyes now, only determination. She's come to trust him, to rely on him, and she won't let that trust be broken. As the pirates prepare for another assault, Lyra moves to the communication console. Without hesitation, she begins transmitting false signals, creating a web of decoy messages that confuse the attackers. Marcus watches in amazement as the pirate ships scatter, unsure of where their prey has gone. But it's not enough. The lead ship breaks through the deception and locks onto them. With no other choice, Marcus engages the ship's limited weapons, but it's clear they're outmatched. Lyra, thinking quickly, suggests using the ship's cargo, volatile fuel cells, as a last-ditch effort. Marcus hesitates, knowing the risk, but Lyra's conviction pushes him forward. They eject the fuel cells, detonating them just as the pirate ship moves in. The explosion rocks their vessel, but it also obliterates the pirate ship, scattering the remaining attackers. They've won, but just barely. The victory is bittersweet. The ship has sustained damage, and they're running low on supplies. They limp to the nearest spaceport, but Marcus knows that finding help won't be easy. The galaxy is a harsh place, and there are many who see Lyra's race as nothing more than relics of a forgotten past. When they dock, the hostility is immediate. Traders and dockworkers eye Lyra with suspicion, their muttered insults barely concealed. Marcus stands protectively by her side, his presence a clear warning to anyone who might think of causing trouble. But the real challenge is finding someone willing to sell them the parts they need. Most refuse, their prejudice outweighing their greed. Lyra feels the weight of the galaxy's disdain, but Marcus won't let it break her. He pushes forward, his determination unwavering. He eventually finds an old contact, a mechanic with no love for the prejudices of others. The man agrees to help, and they manage to get the ship back in working order. As they leave the port, Marcus can see the strain in Lyra's eyes, the toll that constant fear and hatred take on her. But he also sees her strength. She refuses to let it crush her, just as she refuses to let go of the bond they've forged. In the days that follow, Lyra throws herself into learning more about the ship and the galaxy. She studies navigation, engineering, and even combat tactics. She's no longer just a passenger, she's becoming an active part of their survival. Marcus watches her with a mixture of pride and concern. She's growing up fast, too fast, but he knows it's necessary. The galaxy won't give them any breaks, and they need every advantage they can get. Through these challenges, their relationship deepens. Lyra begins to see Marcus not just as her protector, but as a father figure. She turns to him for guidance, for reassurance, and for the kind of love she's never known. Marcus, in turn, becomes increasingly attached to her. She's no longer just a responsibility or a companion, she's his daughter in every way that matters. The bond between them, forged in the crucible of adversity, becomes their greatest strength. Together, they face the galaxy's hostility with a fierce determination, knowing that as long as they have each other, they can survive anything. They become more than just a team, they've become a family, bound by love and the shared will to overcome whatever obstacles come their way. During one of their stops on a remote and largely uncharted planet, Marcus and Lyra come across something unexpected. They're scavenging for parts in an old, abandoned outpost when Lyra notices a faint glow coming from a hidden compartment in the wall. She carefully pries it open, revealing an artifact unlike anything she's seen before. The object is small, intricately carved, and emits a soft, pulsing light. As she holds it, a strange warmth spreads through her, a sensation that feels both familiar and foreign. Marcus watches as Lyra's eyes widen in recognition. He knows immediately that this artifact is connected to her people, to the history she's been denied. The realization hits him hard. This could be the key to unlocking the mysteries of her past. Lyra clutches the artifact close, her expression a mix of awe and fear. The discovery brings with it a wave of emotions, memories buried deep within her surfacing in fragmented flashes. She doesn't fully understand what the artifact is, but she knows it's important, perhaps even a piece of her lost heritage. As they return to the ship, the weight of the discovery hangs heavily between them. Lyra is silent, lost in thought, her mind racing with questions. Who were her people? What happened to them? And why does this artifact seem to call to her as if it's a part of her very soul? The more she contemplates it, the more she feels an overwhelming need to find out the truth. But that desire is tempered by a deep, gnawing fear, the fear of what she might uncover and, more importantly, the fear of what it could mean for her life with Marcus. Marcus senses her inner turmoil. He's seen that look before, the one that says someone is standing at a crossroads, unsure which path to take. He wants to encourage her to explore her heritage, to find the answers she's been denied for so long. But at the same time, the thought of losing her, of her finding something that might pull her away from him, is almost too much to bear. He's grown to love her as his daughter, and the idea of her leaving him to pursue a life connected to a past he has no part in is a pain he never anticipated. Lyra's conflict deepens as the days pass. She spends hours studying the artifact, hoping it will give her some clue, some direction. Yet every time she considers what it might mean to pursue this path, she's reminded of the life she's built with Marcus, the only real family she's ever known. The bond they share is something she cherishes, something she's afraid to lose. The choice between discovering her past and holding on to her present feels impossible. One evening, as they sit together in the dim light of the ship's cockpit, Lyra finally voices her fears. She tells Marcus about the pull she feels toward the artifact, the need to know where she comes from, and what happened to her people. But she also confesses her fear of what she might find and, more importantly, her fear of losing him. Marcus listens, his heart heavy, knowing that this is a journey she must take, even if it means they might be separated. He tells her that no matter what happens, she will always have a home with him, that their bond is unbreakable, even by distance or time. His words give Lyra the strength she needs to make a decision. She knows now that she can't ignore this part of her life, that she has to pursue the truth, but she also knows she doesn't have to do it alone. Together, they decide to follow the clues the artifact provides, to embark on a journey that could uncover the lost history of her people. It's a decision that cements their relationship in a new way, no longer just protector and ward, but true family, willing to face any challenge, any unknown, side by side. As they prepare to set off on this new adventure, there's a sense of resolve between them. The path ahead is uncertain, and the answers they seek may bring both joy and sorrow, but they face it together, bound by a love that has grown stronger with every trial they've endured. For Marcus, it's a chance to give Lyra the past she deserves, and for Lyra, it's a chance to embrace her heritage without losing the family she's found. Their journey takes them to the far reaches of the galaxy, to a planet long forgotten by most. As they approach Lyra's ancestral homeworld, the sight that greets them is one of desolation. Once vibrant cities are now crumbled ruins, overtaken by nature, and the skies that once held great ships are empty and silent. The world, once home to a thriving civilization, is now a graveyard, a haunting reminder of a race almost lost to time. Lyra steps onto the surface with a heavy heart. The landscape is familiar in a way she can't explain, as if the memories of her ancestors are whispering to her through the wind. They explore the ruins, piecing together the history of her people from what remains. Ancient texts and murals tell the story of a proud and wise civilization, brought to its knees by conflict and betrayal. Lyra learns of their struggles, their final stand against an overwhelming force, and the desperate measures they took to ensure that some of their kind would survive, even if it meant scattering across the stars. The truth is both a burden and a release. Lyra feels the weight of her people's history settle on her shoulders, but she also feels a sense of closure. The questions that have haunted her are finally answered, and with those answers comes the realization that she is not alone. She is the living legacy of her people, carrying their hopes and dreams forward. But more importantly, she understands that while her past is part of her, it doesn't define her future. Marcus watches her closely, his heart aching for her but also swelling with pride. He sees the strength in her, the resilience that has allowed her to survive and grow. He knows now, without a doubt, that she is his daughter in every way that matters. The bond they share has been tested and strengthened, and he feels an overwhelming sense of gratitude for the chance to be her father. As they stand among the ruins, Lyra turns to Marcus, her eyes reflecting the depths of her emotions. She thanks him, not just for helping her find the truth, but for being her family, for giving her a place to belong. Marcus pulls her into a tight embrace, knowing that this moment is the culmination of everything they've been through together. He tells her that she has given him more than he could ever give her, a purpose, a reason to keep fighting, and most of all, a daughter to love. With the past behind them, they look to the future. The galaxy is vast, and there are still many places left to explore, but they both know that their journey together doesn't have to be one of constant struggle. They decide to settle on a peaceful planet, one far from the conflicts and dangers that have defined so much of their lives. It's a place where they can finally find the peace they've both longed for. The new world they choose is lush and green, a stark contrast to the barren landscapes they've left behind. Here, they build a home together, a place where they can start anew. Marcus finds joy in the simple things, teaching Lyra to plant a garden, watching her explore the forests and rivers with the curiosity of a child finally free to just be. Lyra, for her part, embraces this new life with a sense of wonder, finding happiness in the knowledge that she is loved and safe. The days pass in a quiet rhythm, each one filled with the kind of contentment that neither of them had thought possible. There are no more battles to fight, no more ghosts from the past to chase. Just the two of them, living in the moment, building a future together. As the sun sets on another day, Marcus and Lyra sit side by side, watching the sky turn from gold to deep indigo. There's no need for words. They both know that they've found what they were looking for, not in the ruins of the past, but in each other. Their story is one of survival, of facing the worst the galaxy has to offer and coming out stronger for it. But more than that, it's a story of love, love that transcends bloodlines and species, love that builds a family from the ashes of what was lost. And in this quiet corner of the galaxy, Marcus and Lyra find the happiness they've earned, a happiness that promises to last, as long as they're together.